Amanda here from Create Your Future. Guys, today I've got Simran joining me. Hey, Simran.
Hi, Amanda.
Hey guys, we have an exciting video on how to overcome anxiety, as well as we're going to answer 2 subscriber questions that were left under our previous video. In addition, I have a success story about a time that I overcame some anxiety. So this is going to be a video completely packed with so much information for you. And it's going to be so helpful for anyone that's dealing with anxiety, because anxiety is worrying about the future. So we're going to help give you some tools to be able to prevent that and to start creating your future rather than worrying about it. Okay. Because like, look at, you know what? You've got the energy to worry about it. You have the energy to create it, okay? And you're going to feel so much better when you're in control of creating what you want. So just before we dive into it, guys, remember, for anyone that's new here, my name is Amanda. I'm a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, hypnotherapist, EFT practitioner, as well as a life coach. And Simran has a background in psychology, and she is a mindset and success coach. And she is having a 50% off sale right now. And all of our clients are absolutely thrilled. They're having great sessions with her. They're making some progress. It's absolutely amazing. So, but you know, if you want to know how much Simran knows, she's going to definitely demonstrate that in this video. She's absolutely amazing. So just before we dive into it, guys, we do have a free course, how to identify your blocks to manifest anything fast. It's going to help you build your mental diet. You know, one thing that way early on when I was learning how to manifest that I didn't realize was a block was questioning. So if I'm like manifesting, you know, Andrew, I was questioning, what is he thinking? Why doesn't he want to be with me? All the while that was blocking me because I was giving away my power. So everyone's being pushed out. I realized, no, I had to start creating what he did think about me and how amazing I was and work on my self-concept. So even just making that one little shift really sped things up, right? And, you know, one thing I do want to throw out there, we've done a video on mental diet and being careful on what you consume. Guys, we have a Facebook group, Create Law of Attraction Hacks with Amanda. Well, create Your Future with Amanda, Law of Attraction Hacks. It's in the description. I might change the name of that because it's a little bit long. However, it's full of success stories. We encourage you to share your success stories, comment on others, read others, you know, in there, because when you're reading it, you're creating it for yourself as well. So it's just a place to consume positivity, right? Which I think is so incredibly important and something that's actually not very common, you know, in this day and age. When I look on all these other forums, you know, it's all complaining and being negative about other people and tearing other people down because everyone's just a bunch of crabs in a bucket. This is an oasis where you can go and have positivity, read positivity, and be around positive people. So, and you know what, same with the YouTube channel here, guys, no negative comments. I do moderate it. It's zero tolerance policy. Be nice, be helpful to each other. You know what, if somebody wants to manifest their ex back, who cares? That's up to them. Don't tell them, why do you want them back? I'm going to delete the comment. I'm sorry. This is a safe place. Please, guys, comment your questions, anything you want, you know, as long as it's positive towards others. And we'll answer your questions as well if you answer, you know, comment under a YouTube video. So what a rant that was. Let's get started into the video.
Yes. So let's start with the first question. The first question here was, how do you do a mental diet in your head when you're feeling anxious, but people are talking to you or around you? Okay, that's the first question. And we go to the second question later on, Amanda?
Sure, we can do them both at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, because the second question also ties very closely to the first one. And
it does.
It talks about this person feels that people around them feed them with limiting beliefs, fears, the opposite, and disempower them. And they also fear that all these things ruin their process, drag them into unwanted realities, and make them feel unwanted things, which is why they don't end up experiencing their manifestation. And I always think that someone with an extremely limiting environment would never get out or could manifest anything at all. Okay, so that's the crux of these 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. I mean, you can tell from the way these questions are being framed that you're feeling anxious, you're feeling as if you do not, you're feeling disempowered, basically, because you've forgotten that you're a creator. Nobody can make you feel anything unless you give them the power that they can. You are a conscious creator. You are a master manifester. And just understanding the mechanics of how this works, if you remember in those moments of spiral, in those moments of doubt, in those moments when you're feeling as if people are dragging you down, tearing you apart, and just yelling all the unwanted circumstances in your face. If you can step back and just realize that, remember rather that I am a conscious creator. I know how this works. My thoughts create. Everyone and everything is me pushed out. So if I can let these noises be and not dwell or attach meanings right here, right now, that they bring me down, rather I take my power back. I empower myself and not let anyone else have any power over me. So you remember, because every moment is a brand new movement. Doesn't matter if it's been going on since the last 2 hours. If you decide that from right here, right now, I am a master manifester and I create, my thoughts create, it is a brand new moment for you. And you start creating from there.
Exactly. So that's exactly it. Remember who you are and that you're powerful. So I know in this one here, it says, I also fear that they sabotage me, slow down me big time, ruin my process, drag me into unwanted realities because they feed unwanted things into my subconscious. So, and then this is also tying into the other one that says, how do you do a mental diet when you're feeling anxious and people are talking to you around you? You can't go to the bathroom so many times. So here's a technique that you can actually use. Okay. So, like for instance, let's say somebody's complaining about gas prices. Okay. They're like, oh, they're so terrible. Then I will actually say, you know what, that's funny because I always get the cheapest price around. Like, I'm actually quite impressed with that. Someone's complaining, oh, my groceries bill is so high these days. Anyone in Canada can probably understand why I'm saying this. And then I turn around and I say, well, you know what, actually, I constantly get deals. In fact, I constantly get deals and things at half price. Everything I go to buy is always on sale, and then I even get like extra points, which gets me free food, blah, 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 right? So, when you're in the moment, okay, and people are coming at you with all these negative things and you don't want to accept that or create it, then in that moment, you just be part of the conversation and say, well, you know what, that's not what my experience is, and then, state what you want to create. The other thing is I'm going to be straight up and honest, okay? The longer I've been doing this, okay, A, the less I talk, okay, and honestly, and B, the less I give my energy and time to people. And I'm very selective of who I give my energy and time to, because you know what, I'm going to tell you, every time I've evolved a little bit and gotten a little bit more, in this realm of, being the creator of my reality and not a reactor, and it's like, I had this friend that would just complain constantly. And you know what, I just couldn't take it. And it was like, okay, either I got to recreate this person or I got to leave, right? And it was, I'm sorry, I got to leave. I didn't want to recreate them. I had another friend that I was so excited about. And unfortunately, she ended up showing up and just being so annoyed every time I was positive. And it was like, I'm sorry, if you don't like my positivity and it bothers you, I got to go. I could have recreated her, but I decided she wasn't worth it. And then I actually manifested a couple of friends that love my positivity, and we have great friends now. So, you may need to be selective with who you're giving your time to, because, it's just the way it is. I was in this course once, this Millionaire Mind thing, and they said, look at, you're only going to be as good as the people you surround yourself with, because that's what you're taking in, right? So if you're sitting around drinking wine with your girlfriend on a Friday night complaining about how guys are all players and cheaters, I'm sorry, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get back what you put out. So you may need to be selective, but in conversations, don't be afraid to speak up and say, hey, you know what? Like, that's crazy. You know what? I don't want to create that. This is what I create instead. And I've actually made it a point to manifest people around me that believe in this and that will actually not complain. So you're allowed to do that. You deserve to have that. Do you know what I mean? And I've even recreated my family, to this point. They didn't believe in it until I came around and started showing it. So, and then don't give them the power that they're able to create that in your reality, right? So I still say, look at, nobody can create my reality but me. Okay. But I still do a mental diet because I'm like, oh, expensive gas, that sounds terrible. Like, I really don't want that. Expensive groceries, that seems even worse. Like, oh, then this good one. Okay, this is one that's like, oh, things just aren't made the way they used to be. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I intend things are made better now than they were before. Like, but if you just got to do the work, that's all there is to it, especially since a lot of people are only reflecting back to your assumptions, right, about them or your beliefs or a combination of the two, right?
Exactly. And I remember, we were discussing that it's more about energy management now than time management, because you should be very careful because you don't want to end up revising a lot of stuff. So why not start making better choices in the beginning, that you don't end up feeling like that later on? So we don't have any anxiety kicking in, we don't have any spiraling happening. So in those moments, because I remember when I had started on my journey, I remember experiencing a lot of anxiety myself. So I know I've been there, I've done that. And what helped me out of it was, doing some things practically on the spot moments, just ready with me. So I remember wearing a rubber band here on my wrist, and I would just snap it every time I think I was spiraling, or I was going down a rabbit hole and feeling as if I will never get what I want. This is not working. This is all BS. So to pull myself out of those moments, in that moment, I always had a rubber band. And I remember I having reminders on my phone. So every 1.5 hours, an alarm would go up just to remind me, so that I could stop whatever I was doing, come back to the present moment and check, where am I, where are my thoughts at? How am I feeling? I remember seeing this emotional scale sometime on Google. It says, are you feeling sad or happy? I'm saying, rate yourself out of 10. Am I feeling a 5 on 10? Am I feeling an 8 on 10? So what can I do to make myself better? And it is not about feeling happy, because I remember once getting into a fight with my mom, saying that, because I'm upset, my manifestation is getting spoiled. And I thought you had to be happy to be able to manifest. No, even if you're feeling down, even if you're crying, even if you're spiraling, if in those moments, because the energy is running so high, you're emotionally charged already. If in those spiraling moments, you can throw in your commands, your desire, your intentions about experiencing or having experienced your desire, that can really speed up. You don't have to be, you have to be goody and all positive.
Exactly. Yeah, true. I mean, but you can't, so you can't be mad at, your SP and be resentful and expect to get anything good, because you're going to get what you give, right? So if you're giving resentment thoughts and upset thoughts, and you're focusing on how much they're just not, appreciating you, then you're just going to get more of that. But you don't need to be happy every day in life, because you're constantly manifesting all the time. Beware though what energy you're putting out, in whatever area, you're probably going to get back. I remember one day I was diagnosed with something and I had to start taking pills, and I was really upset about it. Anyway, so I come downstairs, right, like from the doctor, and I'm like taking off my shoes and I'm crying because I'm upset over this diagnosis, right, and whatever. And Andrew's like, what's wrong? And I tell him, and I forgot my pills upstairs, right? Anyways, and I didn't say anything. I was just thinking, I hope he goes to get them. And he says to me, right, he's like, don't worry. He's like, I'll put on my shoes, I'll go get them for you, right? And so, in that moment, I still manifested him going up this, and the driveway was like steep, right? I didn't want to go back up it, right? So, because I didn't feel good. Obviously, I need these pills, right? And I'm crying, whatever, right? But, so even in that moment of me being upset about what I manifested for my health, I was still able to manifest him walking up the driveway. So was me crying and being upset about my health helping my health story? No, right? Because I was like doom and gloom. Obviously, that's why I was crying, right? But but no, I think that's a myth, that you've got to be happy all the time, and I don't want you to create the story that, I got to be happy all the time. If I'm not happy all the time, I'm not going to get what I want, because that's not true, because your assumptions create. So don't have that assumption. You know what I mean? Simran is really right on that. Yeah.
All the assumptions, even attaching meaning, even if people around you are repeating the old story, you can attach a meaning that, the old story is purging out. I have been doing my work. I've been on a strict mental diet, and this is just old news playing out. You should be happy in those moments rather than attaching meanings that they're trying to, pull you down.
Exactly. That's exactly it. You've got to watch, what you're thinking, and if you're worried about people, basically ruining your peace and creating a negative environment, and that's going to create you, make it bad for you to manifest, then that's what's going to happen. I mean, you can say, look, I'm around negative people all the time and it doesn't affect my reality, but at the same time, watch what you're agreeing to in those conversations. Be on, be alert, and share what you want to manifest. You don't have to agree with everybody. Misery loves company, but you don't need to go down with them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So ask carefully, because you shall receive. So what do you want to receive?
Right. But then even if it does, it's not the biggest deal in the world, right? I think, we put so much energy and you know, about what we don't want. And then when what we don't want shows up, we get even more upset, and we're just focusing on this negative, when really, you know, it's just as easy to manifest positive as it is to manifest negative. It's just that we get worried about it, and then it shows up, and then we worried it showed up, and then we're just focusing on the bad. We're not ever turning around and going, okay, no, I don't want that. That's haha, that showed up. That's not, you know, we don't haha, that's okay. You know, it's like, we don't take it lightly. We seem to take it like, oh my goodness, now that showed up. It's never going to change, right? You know, but yet the positive, we seem to say, oh, that can change so easy on a dime. Think it, you know, and so we need to like break that sort of thinking, right? You know, and anxiety, like my success story for anxiety, and I've told this one before, but I'm going to say it again because it's a very good example. You know, we were going to this networking event, and I was so nervous. Like, I was so nervous, and I had a lot of anxiety, and I was like, and I used to have a lot of anxiety, and I broke it, like, just by, you know, pattern interrupt with the elastic, you know, like Simran said, and just like staying on top of my thoughts, because why worry about my future when I can create my future? So then I thought, oh, why am I worrying? Right. So I kind of went through it, and my worry that was causing me anxiety was what are people going to think about me? I do law of attraction. Some people think it's woo woo. Some people might think I'm crazy. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to go into a room full of people. And I was like, no, Amanda, no, you know what? No. I'm like, you know what? Everyone is you pushed out. Everyone is going to think I'm absolutely amazing. They are going to absolutely love the law of attraction. Everybody always manifests. Everybody's doing it. Everybody knows it. It's basically just positive thinking. And anyone who thinks it's anything other than positive thinking, they're the crazy one, not me. Right? And I'm like, and you know what? I'm like, everyone's going to ask for my business card. I'm going to run out of business cards to the point where they need to take pictures of my business card. And they're all just going to like basically subscribe to the channel right on the spot because they absolutely love to watch the videos. It keeps them on track, you know, and that is exactly what played out and happened. That was exactly what happened. And it was just like, oh my goodness, you know. So, you know, when you have the energy to be all in this anxious state, it's tiring. Stop yourself, ask yourself, why am I anxious? Okay, now take that and say, what do you want instead? You know, and it's usually what's going to make us anxious is the fear of the unknown. What people think about us is a big one, you know. So it's like, no, people are going to think I'm amazing. Jerry's going to think I'm hot. Andrew's going to love me and marry me. Simran thinks I'm amazing, you know. My shoes think I'm awesome too, you know.
Yes, because even fear, or when it comes to love, you're both putting in faith, you know, and going in blindfolded, but we're putting in a lot of faith. So when you can put that faith in fear, why not put it in love?
Exactly. Well said. Well said. You know, I mean, that's where loving yourself starts with. That's where your boundaries start, you know, is creating how people show up for you and, you know, and how they treat you. Right. You know, it drives me nuts when people say, well, you need to go talk to someone to create a boundary. Okay, well, if you had the assumption that they treated you with respect to begin with, why do you need to go and set a boundary with them to tell them, like, verbally? You need to set your boundaries within you, okay? So you do it with your self-concept. People treat me with respect. People respect my time, you know? If you think someone doesn't respect your time, you know, if you just go and have the, I need to talk to you about my you're not respecting my time, which is basically the relationship talk, you're just pushing them away because you're coming, and nobody wants to think that they don't respect you, you know. So it's about bringing it back inside and going, okay, what are my assumptions that I'm creating that's pushing this out, you know?
Exactly, because you don't need to be seen, or you do not need to be heard. You just need to be felt, and your energy is felt all the time.
Exactly. But don't get me wrong. Okay. If somebody's wronged you and you've manifested it, you can still manifest an apology. All you need to do is intend that they take responsibility for it. They feel bad and they apologize and make it up to you. Right. So, you know, but again, that's done inside of here to be felt out there. You know, that's really good. The way you say that, Simran, is that you just need to be felt, and if you get felt just by thinking it.
Yes. You have to be seen. You have to be on Instagram or WhatsApp for them to see and remember you. It's energy.
Exactly. So I think we covered almost everything. Yeah. I think, you know, so guys, you know, a pattern interrupt that'll help you, you know, when you are in situations where you are being bombarded about a bunch of negative talk, you know, I mean, be part of the conversation and add in, you know, what you want instead, you know, rather than just agreeing with it. Right. You know, and if you are, you know, in you know, with people that are constantly negative, or, you know, you might want to review or manifest new friends or revise the people that they're more supportive. You know, I can't imagine now found myself, you know, hanging out with anybody who isn't positive, you know, and that, you know, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't, you know, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So I've just been so spoiled for so many years being surrounded by LOA coaches, you know, that I have a high standard for people in my life, friends, you know what I mean? So, you know, and it's okay sometimes to walk away from things, and it's okay to recreate people, you know, and start intending that every, you know, environment that you're in is nurturing, and it helps you to manifest your desires better, you know, and that it, you know, it isn't this fight, you know, and don't give people the power to create in your reality either, right? All you need to do is be aware of what are you consuming, and are you accepting it as a truth for yourself, right?
Yes, and checking in with yourself multiple times a day, if that helps, because that it will help. If you're somebody who's been feeling anxious a lot and it's become more normal now, so that's how you break it.
Yeah, true. That is totally true. I missed that. That is a very good point. I missed that because it's been a long time for me.
Yes, I remember that.
I haven't had anxiety in years, and trust me, I do not miss it.
Of course. It is so draining, as if you're drowning. There's nobody to save you. It's a miserable place to be in. So we don't want to create that for ourselves.
It is, you know, and I'll just throw in there for, like, I experienced my own share of depression too. And I realized it was because I was constantly feeling bad about things that I've done in the past. Right. And it took a lot of revision, basically revising that everybody forgave me, I forgave myself, and that everybody moved on and everybody learned something from it. And we're all stronger and had better relationships for it. So, you know, again, if you're dealing with that as well, then maybe we'll do a video. I've done a video on how to deal with depression on the channel, if you just Google it. But yeah, so thank you so much for being here today, Simran.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you.
And guys, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And remember, comment your questions down below. We will answer them. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.